we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Come on along. Here we are from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Friday. Verdell Jones, Jim Coyle with you as always. Verdell, how are you, sir?
I'm good, sir. I'm good. Just a little disappointed about how, everything ended last night. But, man, it's a new day. It's a new Friday. And that's all we can be happy about.
Yep. Will, I guess, enjoy the tournament, enjoy the Big Ten tournament, enjoy the NCAA tournament. That's all going to be in Indiana. We'll enjoy that and talk about it as it goes along. And there will be other things to talk about, I'm sure. But, yeah, certainly not an enjoyable end of the season. There was booze there last night. First, fans got to come out. That was the best thing I saw today was I took a picture, a video of that, was fans, just hearing the noise. It was awesome just for people to be out, but just to be out and about. Yeah, it's because yesterday to the day was 1 year that it ended. I remember walking out of Banker's Life when it ended, so it was just weird. But good to see it back and coming around, and man, that's all I care about is to have it back.
Man, I agree. It even though it's only a few fans, even watching through the TV, you could just feel a little bit more energy, and I thought some of the players definitely responded from that energy, and you just realize how important fans are in the stands, especially supportive fans who are trying to get your team to a win. That's half a battle right there. So, I'm hoping that, this tournament and the NCAA tournament shows that, moving forward next year that fans can be back allowed and that everything can be okay, because I think the game misses it for sure.
Yeah, we'll Archie talked about after the game. We'll get into his comments as well. I'm already getting Jennifer talking about it. Yeah, that's the one thing about him is I don't think he's ever honest, which a lot of coaches talk coach speak a lot of times, but at the end of the day, sometimes they'll break down and be honest. And I just don't think Archie ever is. All season long, they talked about shooting. Oh, that'll come. He doesn't address anything. And Jennifer talks about here. She talks about the direction of the program. And he says at the end of the day, we'll be fine. No, you're not. It's 4 years of a downward slope. So no, you're not going to be fine. And not addressing things or acknowledging it's time. Brother, you get 4 years of paid at the money you're getting paid at. You're one of the highest paid employees in the state because he's a state employee. He should be answering questions. And he's been able to hide press conferences. It takes 3 or 4 questions and is out. Hard questions aren't coming. And I think that's BS, personally.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you're a state employee. So, a lot of these upset fans are kind of help paying for your salary. So I think you do have an obligation to respond and answer some of those tough questions. And I think it's important to take responsibility. As a head of a program, as the head of the basketball team, when things aren't going well, it's easy to always blame shift on a player or blame shift on this or that. But it takes a real leader to say, you know what, it's my fault. I haven't prepared the guys this way. I haven't put them in situations to win. I haven't developed them the way they should be developed. Whether that's true or not, it's your responsibility as the leader of the program to take that responsibility and say, you know what, this falls on me. And I believe that if he did that, then I think a lot of fans would maybe ease up a little bit. But like you said, it's a lack of transparency or the lack of willingness to say, hey, I have a part in this too. That kind of is frustrating to everybody. I think, we look at the players. I mean, if you're sitting there saying, the players aren't trying to win, then you're trying to focus blame on the players. Because no player ever is going to go out in a game, especially at Indiana, when fans are the way they are, and not try to win a game. Whether it's Trace, whether it's Rob, whether it's Al, they're not out there trying to lose. They're not out there trying to miss shots. They're not out there trying to turn the ball over. They're trying to play the best they can in that certain situation. Now, my thing as a head coach is that if you're seeing your players struggling in that certain situation, then man, it's time to revamp. It's time to figure out another way to kind of make it, make your players and play well. And I just don't think that's been done yet. So we'll see what happens.
I agree. We'll talk more about that last night on the postgame show with Todd. And he said this many times before, that what's going to happen is there's going to be a meeting probably today with Archie and Scott Dolson. And Scott is going to say, hey, what's the plan here? What's this is not working. What's going on? What is your plan to fix it? There's going to be a serious meeting without question, at the very least. As far as anything else, it would be a guess. And again, we've talked about that. It's all speculation after that. Okay, set up. But yeah, but there will be a serious meeting. And Scott Dolson cares about Indiana. He's been there forever. He was a manager on the team. He cares. He really does. And he's worked in that environment at least. He had not been an AD before, but I think that he does at least. They're a lot better off than where they were before with Fred Glass, with zero experience, and I think kind of more of a arrogant attitude toward that position. Scott will take it very seriously, I think, and give it the credence that it deserves. And I think he will treat this position the way it should have been treated the first time around.
I agree. I mean, like I always continue to say that Scott, man, he is to me the man for the job. He is Mr. Indiana. He loves the Hoosiers. He believes cream and crimson. But at the same time, he has a tough decision on his hands. I mean, the cards he was dealt right now aren't really great. It's you got on one hand that you want to revive the tradition and the basketball of Indiana Hoosiers. At the same time, you got a fat contract you have to pay if you want to make any moves. So he's in a tough situation, and people who are yelling fire, 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 they don't understand the business side of things, especially after a COVID year when no money was really made for the program. You have to look at the bottom line, and that's the dollar. I'm glad I'm not in his situation, but I am praying that he makes what he feels is best, and whatever that is, as a former alumni or as former Hoosier and alumni, I'll support him.
Absolutely, and I'm looking forward to it going forward to see what happens. Because on the look on the football side of things, it's the opposite. It's a bizarro world. Indiana is truly becoming a football school, and when I say they're going to be competing for a Big Ten title next year, they're going to be competitive with Ohio State. And mark this down, they will be competitive with Ohio State in the Big Ten East next year. And don't be surprised if Indiana shocks the world. Man, I just talking to last night to some people, former players had gone out and they're like, wait, what? Who's that? They're like, wow. And even they are impressed with, and this is just 1 year removed players. So that's something that's great to talk about. I look forward to that as we get closer. Spring football going on right now, as a matter of fact. I don't get to go to practice because we're doing the show, unfortunately. But man, yeah, so excited about that, Verdell. So excited about tailgating and football. I'm thinking about a full Memorial Stadium. Holy crap! It's just going to be a blast.
Man, how exciting is that? When's the last time we've been this excited about some fall football? You know what I mean?
Never.
And yeah, exactly. And I'll be the first to tell you, man, while I was at Indiana, Coach Crean, he would have let the guys go tailgate. So I've never tailgated at a football game at IU. So I'm hoping and praying that this year they allow, tailgating to happen, because I will be there in full force. So, but I'm excited about the football program. I mean, it's, he's doing major things there. He's doing the right moves. At the end of the day, though, the guys still have to lace up and play on Saturday. But the guys he's bringing in, and I believe the way that he prepares, I mean, we're looking for an exciting season.
Yep, me too. We'll get to the games from last night as well. Lots of good ones as the Big Ten tournament, Big 12 tournaments, all the tournaments are going on. So a lot of great games. We'll get to that. Alec Lasley is going to join us as we'll go over that with him as well. Stay tuned. We'll be back. We'll take a quick break and be back with all that right after this. From the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by the great folks at Andy Moore Honda Bloomington. Back after this. We're running a little behind, Alec. I was late.
No worries. We're not. It's 9:19. It's not that bad.
No, but
it was a late night.
It's like that's the first though. I was like, God. I remember when I was going to sleep last night at like 1 a.m. I'm like, God, don't oversleep.
What a game!
Are you talking about the Rutgers game?
Yeah,
that was a game that somebody was begging to win. It was. I'm like, somebody just begging to. I'm like, man, this is a hyper open league.
All Indiana needed to do was not go scoreless for 7 minutes and not go without a field goal for 9 minutes, and they would have won the game. They could have cut that in half to 4, and they would have won it.
But it's been continuous. That's my biggest thing. It's it's not just one game or 2 games. It's like that almost every game.
No, it is. It was a heck of a way to close out the season last night. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was, man.
Oh, it's just announced that there's a positive test in the Virginia program, so they're done for
the NCAA tournament.
Well, I don't.
No, I guess not. Just the ACC.
They still, but I thought they have to have 7 negative days in a row, so that's putting them right in that mix there, that weird timeline.
All you gotta have is 5, baby. Man. Golly. How's Verdell? I didn't even get to ask.
I'm good, man. I'm good. We finally find out about the firefighting thing, so I'm gonna interview on the 31st of the month. So everything is moving forward with that. So I'm excited.
Experience that is waiting for you on your next visit to French Lick, West Baden.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by the fine folks at Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. You can get for $0 down, $185 a month, a 2020 Civic LX lease right now. Go get that. Hey, Alec Lasley joins us from thehoosier.com. Alec, how are you, sir?
Doing all right, guys. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're just making do, man. Talking about this and that and the other thing. And last night, how in the break, I was talking about that was a game that somebody was just begging to win. It was like being at the hyper and open gym, and it's like, God, can we get this game over with? All we got to do is get to a point level. It's like the Elam ending. We just had to get there.
Yeah, no, exactly. It was a pretty brutal second half for both teams, obviously, and I think you look at the scoreless drought that Indiana had for basically that entire second half, and you say even if they just cut that in half, they probably would be playing tonight. But it was kind of exactly how you thought this season would end, based off of the last month month and a half of play for Indiana, and it was just it was a terrible way to end the season. But at the same time, it was kind of what I think a lot of fans were kind of expecting from this team at this point in the season and in this point in Archie Miller's tenure.
Yeah, Verdell, I mean, you can speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with what Alex said. Everyone was hoping that it would be kind of the team that we saw at the beginning of the year, with the monstrous play out of Trace and Race coming up and the guards playing well. But I think it kind of just echoed how the last, like you said, the last month has been of just these crazy scoring droughts. And that ultimately is what hurt a lot of these losses. I mean, it's not too many games where we're getting beat by 20 points. It's right there, it's single digits, 10 points. But when you go, 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes without scoring, I can tell you firsthand, you're not going to win many games that way. It was tough to see. Al go out that way. I have much respect to him, man, and whatever Trace ends up doing, you could tell that they left it all out there on the floor yesterday. And that's all you can ask from the players.
Yeah, it just seems like that there's just no – they know what's been wrong all season, and there's been no – we know that there's been no changing, but that's been a topic of conversation. But as the players, man, they worked hard. They just don't seem like they've been put in the position. And when you see this over and over and over, you know that these guys they don't have bad basketball IQs. They're not dumb kids. We saw them play in high school. So why does that's where the questions for me come from. Why did they become better or not as good shooters? Why did they become not as good at this? And I just don't think they've been put in the position to win, personally.
Yeah,
either
you look. Yeah, you look at what has been this season, right? And I think everyone had some pretty high expectations for this team. Obviously, 4 years in to anyone's tenure at any program, you're expecting some bit of success, and what that success looks like is different for everyone. But I think at the end of the day, you look at the strides that this team didn't make and the strides that this team was expected to make. And you just kind of sit back and wonder, what is the next step? And that's the most kind of concerning and dangerous part of a program, is not really knowing what that next step is and not really kind of knowing where to go from here. And, this program just seems kind of broken right now. And that's a really sad thing for such a historic and very traditionally strong program in the past, but it just hasn't been that way over the last 5-10 years here. And it's just something that you really have to look back at the coaching staff and say, if this was going on game after game and year after year, why is there not anything different? I mean, what made them think that the same kind of game plan that they went into with this season, why did they think that was still going to work out after they had lost 3-4 in a row, and after 20 games into the season? And there just wasn't a lot of changes to the game plan. And I know we've talked about it before with Archie Miller. He likes to use the word kind of stick to the script a lot. That's one of his main kind of phrases. And that's one thing you can't do as a college basketball coach, but especially I think this year more than any year, you can't stick to any sort of script, because there's no script to go off of in not only a COVID year, but a year where, there just hasn't been a lot working out for you guys.
Verdell,
I couldn't agree more. I mean, when you look at a program or a coach or whatever, you have to look at, okay, what is being developed? All right, has the team gotten better? I mean, has the wins gotten better? Have you gone further in the tournament? No? Okay. All right. Well, let's look at the players. Has each individual player gotten that much better? And I don't want to be critical of any of the players, but it's hard for me to really look out and point at one, or, I could probably say Armand, but outside of Armand, who else has really made that huge leap, that huge jump that they needed? Yeah, they might average a couple more points here and there, but when you talk about, developing guys for the NBA, which is huge for recruiting because everyone wants to go play in the NBA, you gotta be honest. What are we doing in the gym to get these guys better? And it just looks like that. You can make an argument saying that it's been stagnant. The growth of the program and the players have been kind of stagnant, if not the reverse effect. And that's when you really have to look at yourself in the mirror and come together as a staff. And it's like, all right, guys, what we've been doing, it hasn't been working. So we got to figure out something else, and we're not leaving this office till we figure out a way that we can maximize our guys' potential. And, I'm hoping that having a full off season this year, whether he stays or goes or not, but having a full off season is going to really help those guys get to where they want to go.
Well, I can guarantee you if he stays, go ahead, Alec.
Yeah, just want to quickly jump in because obviously Verdell talked about, the next step is obviously getting to the NBA for a lot of these high school players. And that only happens with development. And at the beginning of this season, when Indiana brought on Kenya Hunter, he talked about the best teams that he's been a part of. They've had 3 pros on their team. And that's what you build around. They don't have to be 3 pros at the same time, but you have to have 3 pros on your team to actually be a successful program. And you look at the Indiana teams over the past 4, 5, 6 years, and there hasn't, outside of the end of Tom Crean's era, there has not been 3 pros on a consistent basis, let alone 1 or 2 at the same time. And that's what's really concerning for the program moving forward.
Yeah, and then we got to look at potential transfers, and there's all kinds of things, or guys going to stay. I'll tell you one thing, I'm going to be shocked if quickly we do not see the announcement that 2 assistants are leaving the program. There is no way that's not going to be a part of the change. Scott Dolson is going to demand, if Archie stays, he's going to demand. Tom Ostrom, I'm sorry, he is a nice guy. I've met Tom many times, but what the hell does he do for this program? He's been with Archie for 9 years from Dayton. What in the hell? Nothing's changing. So what does he bring? Nothing. Recruiting? Nope. There's nothing that's been great here. So there's going to be I think that we'll see definitely a shakeup in the staff immediately, fast, because that's another thing. There's no change. Archie changes nothing, right down to the staff. And I've never seen a coach, we talked about this earlier, just not take responsibility for things like he doesn't seem to. He always has an excuse, and he's an excuse maker. And I'm just, coaches usually aren't like that.
Yeah, I mean
or Alec.
Yeah. The one thing you talked about, obviously, if there isn't going to be any sort of change at the head coaching position, you're definitely right with the assistant coaching kind of shakeup. I mean, you look at all across college and pro sports. If the coach is kind of teetering between whether or not he's going to stay or go, if he stays, it's almost certain that multiple assistants are moving on. And I mean, the classic example is Michigan football with Jim Harbaugh, right? I mean, he kind of in the similar position where you have such a rich history, and that fan base is just really, really hungry for wins. And obviously Harbaugh hasn't, lived up to that in that expectations. And they bring him back for next year, but they basically shook up the entire coaching staff. Obviously, at times a little bit different on the football side of things, but still can translate to what Indiana is looking at moving forward if they do stick with Archie Miller for next year.
And Verdell, but that's with a guy who is revered by Michigan, who was a Michigan guy, who is he gets a lot more latitude. He came from the NFL, so he has a lot more cachet behind his name than Archie Miller, because Archie Miller's got Jack behind his.
Yeah, I think like Alex said, I think if he's going to stay, you have to make some drastic changes on the coaching staff. Harbaugh, like you said, he is a Michigan guy. So I think if it was Coach Alford or someone like that at the helm right now, we'll probably give him a little bit more of a leash. But Indiana fans, we have our strict love for our tradition So if you're not part of that tradition, then your leash is kind of short, especially if you're not building on the tradition that's been set. So, you know, I kind of understand where Coach Miller is coming from, because he had, you know, he seems like he's trying to preach loyalty, and that's admirable. But that loyalty is going to get you fired or get you in a hot seat. Then you have to kind of switch some things up, you know, especially when it comes to a historic program like Indiana. You know, it's, you know, loyalty going to only get you so far. You know what I mean? And you have to do what's best for the program and move forward. I mean, if you're the leader of the program, you have to make those hard decisions. And if it's a guy who's been with you for 9 or 10 years, but you look in the mirror and really, you know, self-analyze things and see that he's not going to help you or not going to help the recruiting, and as hard and as fortunate as it is in this business, you got to make that hard decision and find someone else who can help. You know what I mean? Well, I will say that they have no problem letting players go. You know what I mean? So if you're going to make switches like that, then you need to go ahead and do the same thing with the coach.
Yeah, Steve says Hardball's got Andrew Luck as his poster child. Archie has Scoochie Smith. Joe, that's just the name Scoochie Smith is good enough for that, man. That's hilarious. Yeah, that's another thing. Production of talent. You can go back over Archie's entire coaching career. He does not produce talent. There are, I think, 9 guys in the NBA right now. 7 of those are Crean guys. Eric Gordon. And he does not get credit for Romeo Langford, who should have been going to Louisville anyway and came to Indiana as a projected 5 and left it as a 12. So he doesn't produce talent. I don't think he knows how to use talent. He definitely does not how to develop talent. So that's some serious. Those are all serious issues. And it's not stuff that's being made up. It's clearly that you can see. These are numbers you can see. I don't know. I don't even know how much change can be done with this deal, because I don't think he's capable. I think this thing about the script, he's got a script, and I don't think he knows what to do outside of that script, because in 4 years of crap, there's no way I would have gone through this in 4 years. I would have done something different if I knew how to. So I don't think he knows how to do anything different, because what coach wouldn't? When losing is on the line time and time again, and it has been for 4 years, man, there's no way you just, as a competitor, you don't do everything inside of you to just win. He doesn't. He just doesn't. He's not a winner, and that's all there is about Archie Miller. He's just not a winner, and he's not ever going to be a winner at this level, because he's not going to do anything different that doesn't work at this level. So that's my pitch on that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was looking back at obviously the 4 years since the season ended last night, and he had 9 wins his first year at Indiana in the Big Ten. That's his most up to this point. So he's regressed that way. Obviously, the total seeding line in the Big Ten has regressed each and every year from the first year he's been there. And you look at the one thing that he always wanted to hang his hat on, which was defense. And that I don't think people have realized how much that has regressed since his first year. It was astounding to look at all of the efficiency numbers from his first year at Indiana in Big Ten play to this season. And they've gone from a top 6 team in the Big Ten defensively to 12th this season in the conference defensively. And when you're not scoring points, that can't happen. And at the same time, just what you were saying, Jim, he's not changing anything up. But at the same time, I don't know what he could change it up to, because there's just you look at what he has to work with, and obviously that's because of what he brought in, the pieces that he brought in. So I'm not making an excuse for that, but it's just he's kind of dug himself too big of a hole to really make any sort of major adjustments, because there just isn't a lot to necessarily work with one way or the other, because he's tried to do a few things here or there, but he just doesn't stick with it. And that's probably going to be his biggest downfall at Indiana, is just not not kind of living through maybe those early fires with some of the freshmen or anything like that, not really letting them grow. And at the end of the day, that's probably what's going to, have Indiana moving on.
I agree.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that statement. I mean, like you said, especially those freshmen. I truly believe, as you saw Christian and some of those other guys grow, even Geronimo, when you saw those guys grow at the end of the year, they made good plays, and you just really wonder, man, if they'd have got some of that experience earlier in the season, how could they have helped us during this, this kind of a skid at the end of the season, and there's always, you always say what ifs, but I mean, those are glaring things. I felt like, there was times where Christian would play good and then you wouldn't see him for the next 15 minutes, and so along with some of those other guys. So like I said, man, it's a lot of going back to the drawing boards that has to happen this off season, whether Coach Miller stays or not.
Yeah, and a question I have is, like Sid here, talking about recruiting. This team can't survive the players that they can. They currently have. Archie is not the answer, but will kids want to come here? That's my question. How are you going to deal with that? Because while all this is going on, and Verdell, let me ask you that first, as if you're a recruit and a school has been recruiting you hard and you've been looking at them hard, and this is kind of going on, what's in your mind?
That the ship isn't stable, to be honest with you. What? I remember Coach Sampson had recruited me in Indiana just briefly, and we just kind of dismissed it because we knew that there was a lot of turmoil going on. We didn't know if he was going to stay there, if he was not going to stay there. So the player, you want to go to the situation that's stable. You don't want to go to a mess. You want to go to where that your coach that's recruiting you is going to be there for the next 4 years at least, just so you can be able to grow and develop. No kid wants to go to a team that recruited them and just to be surprised by a whole different regime that you might not like, that might not fit your playing style and things like that. So, from the recruiting standpoint, it's going to be tough to really get those top-notch recruits outside of the state of Indiana. Now, I still believe that you can get those top recruits in the state because of what Indiana is, but you really have to. I mean, it's going to be a lot of work have to be put into rebranding and restructuring what the Indiana program is now.
And Alec, I know people like CJ Gunn, I don't think that he's as much in danger because if a change is made, it'll still be in time for him to be able to evaluate that just fine. But it's now. What are you going to do next year? I would be shocked if there are not players in the transfer portal. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to be very surprised if we don't see names in the portal from Indiana. And so you have that. You have 2 open scholarships already because he couldn't fill them. These are some serious potential problems Indiana's looking at next season.
No, absolutely. And I think, again, the one saving grace for Archie Miller at this point, assuming, he will be on board for next season, is going to be the transfer portal for incoming players this year. I mean, you already have hundreds of players in the portal, and we're barely through the quarterfinals of these conference tournaments. I mean, that's unbelievable. No one's seen anything like that. You have players who are going to be transferring from high major to other high majors and obviously be eligible to play immediately. And you look at the names that could potentially be out there for Indiana or just for anyone. And that's a whole other recruiting class in itself, right? I mean, you do have Parker Stewart and Logan Duncombe for next year. And I do think Joey Brunk will be back. So, I mean, those are 3 guys that you'll at least have back that I think will make good contributions to the roster, whatever the roster does look like. And then you're going to have to land 2 high impact wings immediately in the transfer portal to come to IU, because if Indiana doesn't land any sort of high major, high quality wings, it's going to be more of the same, because that's what they've struggled with every single year, is not having scorers on the perimeter. And that's one thing that you can't live without in college basketball in this day and age.
Yep. Verdell knows that more than anybody.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you got to have guys that can go get buckets for you. You got to have guys who can make plays. And I'm hoping that the transfer portal does provide those opportunities for someone to come in and be that playmaker. I think if you can get one other guy along with Armand, to kind of and that's, to me, that's the biggest thing that I saw in the last few games. I don't mean to shift direction, but we had to find a guy that when it's tough, when the plays aren't working, we can say, here, we need you to make a play for us, and we just didn't really see that this year. So I'm hoping that Parker Stewart and maybe another transfer guy can really come in and step in and be that guy for us, because if Trace leaves, it's going to be a lot of glaring holes.
Absolutely. Alec, what do you have coming up next?
Yeah, we have the state tournament still going on this weekend. So CJ Gunn playing tomorrow morning. It's crazy the early tip times. They start off at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow.
9:30 a.m.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he plays. He's the second game, so he'll play a little bit closer to 11. But yeah, so we'll be covering that, and then Logan Duncombe they advanced to their regional finals earlier in the week. So the couple IU guys still going strong in the state tournament.
Looking forward to it. You can find him at thehoosier.com. Alec Lasley, I can't thank you enough, man. We appreciate you as always.
Appreciate it, guys. Take care.
Yes, sir. Have a good one, man. Verdell Jones and myself will be back after a break from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda Bloomington. We're back after this.
Welcome to
Trevor.
Yep.
Nick Elam. Do you have you still have his email?
Yep, he's got the link.
Oh, you got it linked. All right, good.
Verdell and I were having a good convo before the show about kind of how it's tough to score in such a rigid offense.
Well, especially ones that doesn't get started until for the first 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just creates a lot of problems at the end of the shot clock, Now guys feel they had to rush a shot up or rush a play up. Usually you want to get through your primary offense with at least 10 seconds left. If their primary offense to get it in the post isn't there, all right, let's go ahead and get this ball screen rolling with about 10 and 12 seconds left and make a play. But
they need a playmaker.
Yeah.
They need somebody that they can fear that will go to the rim, and they don't have that guy. I know that Rob can do it, but there's nobody that they fear going to the rim that's going to score. Hey, this guy's a threat to go either way. They don't have that. They don't have a threat as a shooter. There are no threats. Trace Jackson Davis is a threat, but there aren't really any threats that they have to worry about.
They would play Brunk, Jackson Davis, and then in like an 18% from three, Justin Smith. And then people wonder why they can't shoot. It's because the defense only has to take into account 2 B-level shooters on the court. Everyone else is just, you can't really drive to the rim if there's 3 defenders and 6 bodies total just packed in the lane.
Yeah, you gotta keep the spacing open for sure. Oh man, I don't know. And I feel for Trace. To me, it's I wish his development had gotten a little bit better. But you could just tell, you could just see it all over him. He's just carrying a heavy burden right now. He thought things were going to be a whole lot different than they were. I'm sure he's upset with the way the season ended. So it's just you can see the burden on him for sure.
Yeah, he was the entire threat last night.
More savings. Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Ooh, a little MJ here. A little MJ for VJ. I like it.
Yeah,
Welcome back on here on this Friday to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Verdell Jones and myself sitting in here. Some good games last night, though. Baylor and that wasn't. But how about Kansas State? Kansas State is one of the worst teams in the Big 12, if not. They're 4-14. But they it was 74-68 for Baylor, man. They gave them all they wanted. Ohio State and Minnesota, 79-75. That was a good game, Verdell. Minnesota, I thought that they were going to pull that one out, man. They tried.
I did too.
Close.
I did too. That's what I missed so much. You know, the season's fun, but March Madness, when those tournaments get to rolling, man, and teams are playing for their lives, that's when you see some of the best basketball.
Absolutely. West Virginia's been on a little bit of a spin, man. They lost again to Oklahoma State yesterday, 72-69. Kansas edges Oklahoma 69-62. Texas beats Texas Tech 67-66. Virginia loses to Georgetown 72-71. It's just, man, it's just, you're like, yes. You're watching the end of all those games. That's the conference tournaments may be the best time because there's just so many. And there's just so damn many. And those smaller schools that are playing for their lives.
Exactly.
Fun to watch. Let's see. Virginia edged Syracuse 72-69. But Butler, it was the anomaly. They got their butts whipped 87-56 by Creighton.
Oof.
Man, that's a bad loss by Butler, man.
It's a spanking right there.
Yep. Well, North Carolina continues their roll. They knocked off number 22 Virginia Tech 81-73. And USC continues their winning ways out west. So continues today. You've got more action coming up at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. So the Big Ten tournament continues. Who do we have today? What's on tap for today, Verdell? Who's your favorite game? You got Michigan and Maryland. That's the first game. It's at 11:30 in the morning.
I'm liking, to me personally, I like the Baylor Oklahoma State game. I love seeing guards go at it, and to me, Cade Cunningham is a problem. He has a lot of all the tangibles. And I'm also, I'd like to see the Kansas Texas game. I think those are two, especially Kansas. Kansas is hot right now. They are from being out of the rankings and has been on a roll of late. And man,
dude, how many teams? How many teams have we seen that? Kansas, Duke, Michigan State. This COVID year really stunted a lot of people, but the teams with better coaches coming on at the end of the year, exactly what you're saying.
I mean, North Carolina, they were one that was down and out, and they're in the semifinals right now, the chance to beat Florida State tonight. So, I love it's all about getting hot at the right time. A lot of people say, "Oh, we had a great year," and then end up losing in the first two rounds. You want to get hot at the right time if you want to go deep, and Kansas is definitely one of those teams that's hot right now.
The Big Ten games, like I said, Maryland taking on Michigan, then Ohio State, Purdue at 2:00.
That'd be a good one.
Then they'll break, and Rutgers, Illinois at 6:30, and then the nightcap, Wisconsin and Iowa at 9:00.
Yeah, those are gonna be some good games. I think Iowa should handle that pretty easily. I'm actually interested to see how that Rutgers Illinois game goes. I think Illinois will handle them. But seeing a couple of their matchups this year, they've had different struggles. But that Purdue Ohio State game should be a fun one to watch. I know it's Purdue, but they're playing there. I mean, you could argue and say that they're playing some of the best basketball right now too.
And Ohio State's not.
And they're not, exactly. That could be a huge game as far as NCAA tournament seeding implications. Purdue can come out and pop them in the mouth real good.
Yeah, I agree, man. That's going to be interesting to see how that turns out because it's the Big 12 and Big 10. That's going to be what everybody's watching. Because the games we just talked about, it was basically those two conferences, man. Those were the big boys are in those two conferences this year. I know that Gonzaga as well, but for volume, It's just going to be a heavyweight battle between those two conferences. It's going to be fun.
It is. It is.
Because they're very similar. Usually
Yeah.
it's the ACC, which is kind of a different. The Big 12 and the Big 10 to me are very similar.
I agree. And personally, as far as the Big Ten is concerned, I really want to see a rematch between Michigan and Illinois. You know, I'm in Champaign, so the media is just, they feel they
let's
got
talk
robbed
about
of the
that.
Big Ten.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, they feel, they really felt they've been robbed of the Big Ten title, and they felt that IO got robbed of the Big Ten Player of the Year, and so there's a lot of fuel to the fire over here, should I say. So I think, I'd love to see a Michigan-Illinois Big Ten championship rematch, and whoever wins that can get the bragging rights in the chip. So that's what I'm rooting for.
Well, if you're not up to speed on the Michigan-Illinois deal, Michigan did not play the 20 games. So they had predetermined before the season to use a winning percentage, I think. And they didn't get the winning percentage until they beat Michigan State the last game that they beat them, because they lost to them the next game. And I think Illinois was maybe expecting a co-championship, but that didn't happen. And Illinois wins the most games in the conference this year, playing all 20 games. They were 16-4, which is a pretty, if you go down the annals of champions, that's a pretty common record there.
And that head-to-head matchup was a blowout at Michigan without Io. So those are a lot of things that the Illinois fans just feel like they've been robbed this year. And I think even the AD Whitman came out and kind of
wrote a little
letter saying, he felt they got robbed pretty much. So we'll see what happens. I like I said, I would love to see that rematch. I think that would have all of the marbles to be a great, great game, and maybe a new rivalry coming in the Big Ten.
Absolutely, man. I think Illinois. It harkens back to the football deal when Indiana was complaining about Ohio State getting moved ahead of them. It's kind of a similar type of deal. It's a weird year, so I get it. I don't know how they do it. But when you got that head to head in there too, boy, that just We'll see. Well, if they get to do it again and they lose to them twice, man.
Yeah.
They may fly their own flag. Michigan State champion 2021.
For sure, man. We'll see what happens. So
we need some new rivalries in the Big Ten. Gene Cady and Bob Knight and just all Thad Matta was even expressive. Even the Ludu. You had the Ludu with Lou Henson. The characters, there's just not a lot of characters in the Big Ten right now. I mean, Tom Izzo's it, man.
He's a legend, though, right? He's been around. He's done his things. But as far as the future of the Big Ten, I think Juwan Howard's someone that's definitely going to be a big franchise name in the Big Ten. Even Coach Painter over at Purdue. I think he's someone that's kind of come along, but you just don't really have too many people out there. That's coaching at a program where teams either hate you that much or you're always ranked that high. I think a lot of people don't like Fran over at Iowa, but they're not always a huge threat year in and year out. But I just wish that we had some more of those. There's some of those nasty rivalries where you're like, man, I can't wait to play them on the schedule. I can't wait to beat them. I know the fans will be in it. I know the media will be in it. I know the coaches will be at it. You know what I mean? I miss that kind of basketball. It brings more excitement to it.
I didn't see this. I wish I had. Patrick Ewing, little PO'd man. I did not see this. Of course, they're playing the Big East, so that's in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
So the security did not know who he was.
I guess he kept saying that everyone kept asking him for his badges and who he was and this and that, and I guess he took a little offense to it, saying hey, I'm Patrick Ewing, man.
I'll tell you exactly what he said. He said, "Everybody in this building ought to know who the hell I am." That's no lie. First of all,
I think
if you're a 6'2" guard, I understand it.
Right.
You're not a 6'2". He's not a damn 6'2" guard, man. You have to be on planet Mars to not know who Patrick Ewing is. When he walks into a room, I've never personally met him, but I guarantee you, I will know, oh, damn, that's Patrick Ewing.
Right.
I mean, how tall is he? How tall is Ewing? I don't even know how tall he is.
He's definitely a footer.
I thought he was. I was like, oh, man, there's not that many of those in the world. So,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I agree.
I can feel how you feel. He can definitely feel slighted by that, I think he might have rubbed a few people the wrong way with the way he expressed, his frustration. But when you had a history like that at a gym or at an arena that you pretty much help, build or whatever you want to call it, I can see how you feel just a little disrespected about not being known. So like you said, especially if you're a 7-footer, like you said, there's no 7-footer just walking around in a Georgetown uniform or a jersey or a coaching shirt. So, I did see that. I thought it was hilarious, though.
Yeah, here's his exact quote. I thought this was my building, and I feel terrible that I'm getting stopped, accosted, people asking for passes. Everybody in this building should know who the hell I am, and I'm getting stopped. I can't move around this building. I was like, what the hell? Is this Madison Square Garden? But it's the truth, man. I'm like, if it was in Arizona, I still wouldn't understand it.
Right.
If it was in Washington State, I still would not understand it. But it's in Madison freaking Square Garden. Are you kidding me?
I guarantee you, Mike doesn't have to walk around in United Center and people ask who he is or for his badges. So I can feel how he might feel a little disrespected by that.
But I will say this: the NCAA or whoever, the ACC or whoever's hiring those people, I promise you, half of them are probably not sports fans. Yeah. Half of them are probably your grandmothers who has no damn earthly clue who Patrick Ewing is at all. And so, but even then, but because the measures, these people have been told that nobody gets by, nothing because of COVID.
COVID, yeah.
I understand. It's funny. You would think though in New York, man, you got to know who Patrick Ewing is. Gee whiz, his career was played in this damn building.
Right.
But it's funny. It's funny, but it's wearing on you, man. The COVID crap. It wears. Just think about the normal people. So there's a guy that really famous. So people like me who. Yeah, it's constant. It's constant. Yeah, it's the stuff you got to deal with. But we'll be so glad if it's ever over. But I don't know when that's going to happen.
Yeah, I hope it's over sooner than later. But like you said, I mean, the different variants coming out, and a lot of people who don't want to get the vaccine, and there's just a lot of stuff going on, man. But it's definitely been I feel like it's been a heavy cloud over the country, at least since it's happened. I'm ready for that cloud to go away and some sunshine to shine through, man, because we all needed it for a little bit.
Yep. Joining us next is going to be Nick Elam. The Elam ending?
Mm-hmm.
Nick Elam's going to join us next. We'll talk with him and talk more with Verdell about how the firefighter job's going. We'll keep up on that. Back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda right after this.
Hey, we all want more, and no one gives you more.
Oh my gosh, I am good. Don't take offense, Verdell. I'm gonna be so happy when this day's over.
No, I hear you, man.
Hey, Nick. Hey, Nick, how you doing, man?
Doing all right.
He's got a great background. Look at that background.
I do. I like it.
Yeah.
Except for that Dayton Flyers.
Well, we got Dayton over here. That's my alma mater. Ball State now.
Not a good look. Dayton's not something we want to talk about right now. Dayton made out in this coaching change. They got a better coach, and that is no bullshit.
We were devastated when Archie left, and I still root for Archie.
You want him back?
Well, no, but I'm saying it worked out. It worked out pretty well. Yeah.
For you.
But I grew up on the Hoosiers. My mom went to IU, so I grew up on Bob Knight and the Hoosiers, so I still root for him. I live and die with Dayton Flyers, but yeah, when that happened, when he left, I thought, oh man, it's going to be tough to get back to that level. And in a few years, hey, we're number 3 in the nation, and then it was about 1 year ago, right around this time, that the season just came crashing down, and we'll never know how that story would have ended.
You know why it got so good? Because your new coach recruited really good players.
He's recruited really well, and he's gotten some great transfers too.
It's all about the culture.
Man, I just aggravate. It just gets aggravating more. My God, it's just. He's the worst hire in Indiana University athletics history. I'm not kidding. He is the worst hire in the history of Indiana athletics. It's horrible. Horrible.
Well, if he had stayed at Dayton, they probably would have built a statue for him, but he hasn't quite done enough to build a statue in Bloomington yet.
Statue, he's more likely to get thrown into a wood chipper. He cannot get out of Bloomington fast enough for people in Indiana. I'll tell you that. It is just horrible. The brand, the style, the recruiting, it's this total failure. It's just an abject, total, complete failure. And it's just mind-boggling.
And I didn't see all the game yesterday, but when I saw no field goals for the last 9:48, I'm like, you can't win many games that way.
No.
Holy smokes. That's
and a premier resort experience that is waiting for you on your next visit to French Lick, West Baden.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Solersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Joined now by Nick Elam of the Elam Ending. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Great to be with you.
Great to have you. Verdell Jones with us as well as always here on this Friday. If you guys watched the TBT or the All-Star game here recently, NBA All-Star game, you know about the Elam Ending, which I love it. The TBT is one of my favorite times of year, watching that tournament, man. That's just fun. How did you get involved with that to begin? You've been on with us before, but how did you get involved with them to begin with?
Yeah, so the whole idea of that's since become known as the Elam Ending. It's an idea that I had going back to 2007, and it was an idea at first. I thought, okay, there must be some reason why this wouldn't work, and I started to explore it actually to try to figure out what was the flaw in it. But the more that I scrutinized it, the more I really believed in the idea that it was necessary, that it was sound, that it could be really cool. And so as the weeks and months went on in 2007, I finally convinced myself that this was an idea worth pursuing. But then the really tough part came of trying to convince somebody else in the basketball world to try to implement this thing. And that process took almost 10 years. And I reached out left and right to just about everybody you can find in the basketball world. And, I was making another round of outreach, and I was reaching out to what I would call like semi-pro leagues and events. TBT was one of the leagues on that list. I didn't even have any direct contact info or anything. I just sent it to their general mailbox or whatever. Kind of making my argument. I sent this big PowerPoint presentation, and they responded pretty quickly to say, hey, they were really intrigued by this. And by that time in the whole process, I'd learned to be pretty patient with the whole thing. So I still wasn't getting my hopes up. But, we stayed in touch, and eventually in 2017, they said, they wanted to go with it on an experimental basis, name it the Elam Ending. And after that trial run in 2017, they liked it so much that they went all in with it. And every game since then in TBT has been played under the Elam Ending.
Verdell, did you ever play in the TBT?
I didn't. I was thinking about doing it last year, but decided, once COVID stuff hit, that probably not. But I never got a chance to.
There's always a chance. 2021, they're still taking signups right now.
That's true. Who knows?
Verdell can do about anything, but he's got firefighting duties on his plate right now. But Verdell, I've been telling every time we've got to get an Indiana alumni team in there. because so many schools are in there that Indiana does not have one, but it would certainly be good to see that. The NBA All-Star Game also use it. That's got to be the coolest thing ever for the last 2 years to see it there.
That was quite a thrill, and I knew that this idea was going to keep moving forward somehow. I didn't know what the avenue was, who was going to be next to implement it and what path or whatever. But when I got that call that they were going to implement it for the All-Star Game, that the players really liked the idea of an untimed finish to games, that they were going to send me and a guest up to Chicago for All-Star Weekend and all that. I mean, that was just amazing. And I wish I could have had that same kind of experience this past year, but I know they were trying to keep things safe and limit the access to it. But hopefully in years to come, we'll get that treat again, and especially when it comes back to Indianapolis in a few years.
That's really looking forward to that, Verdell. The NBA All-Star Game in Indianapolis, just the hub of basketball. It's just where it should be all the time, of course. So what's going on now? What do you do? What are you doing? How do you fill your time?
Sure. Well, you talk about the hub of basketball. I mean, I was excited in a way. I mean, it's unfortunate that the NCAA tournament has to be played in such an unusual format this year. But, when they were going to host it in Indianapolis and all the different venues, I'm thinking, hey, there's nowhere better to do it other than Indiana. So, my beloved Dayton Flyers aren't going to make the tournament this year. But when I got this link in my email a few weeks ago that I was eligible for some pre-sale for NCAA tickets, I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go for it and try to get something. So it wasn't easy. I don't know if you've been through that ticket sale process this year or not, but you have to kind of fight and claw your way through. But I was able to get some tickets at Bankers Life for the second round.
Wow.
So I'm excited for that. Ready to go for that. But in my full-time job, when I'm not following sports, I am a professor at Ball State University and their educational leadership department. So I work with graduate students. These are people who want to become school principals, school superintendents, and that stems from my background because I used to be a school principal in Dayton, Ohio, and before that I was an athletic director and a math teacher to start out with.
It reminds me of Verdell, man. He is he's Mr. Community. He does everything. He's just about to become a fireman. He's going to be a mayor in a couple of years.
Well, I really
hasn't taught yet, but I think. He's our Superman.
I was going to say, I really applaud you, Verdell, for pursuing firefighting. And there was a time when I was in college where I thought I might want to become a volunteer firefighter. So I actually got certified as an EMT basic, and I learned the hard way. I was the worst EMT ever. So I was working on the student rescue squad. It was like a volunteer rescue squad at the University of Dayton, just the students doing it. And we never had anything major happen on the shifts that I was working, fortunately. Sure. Fortunately, my shift mates, we're much more competent than I was. I like driving the ambulance around. That was fun, but I just didn't have the nerve for it. So I really have the utmost respect for first responders, and hey, good luck to you and kudos to you for pursuing that path.
I appreciate it. I went through the whole process and recently finished 13th on the eligibility list out of 200 guys. Just got a call 2 days ago that my final interview will be on the 31st at 8:30 a.m. So I'm just getting my body and mind ready for that day, and hopefully everything works out.
Good for you. So yeah, good luck on that. Is it more of a like a knowledge test or a physical test that you have to do?
Well, I already passed all the tests.
Oh, okay.
It's an in-person interview. So meeting with the chief, meeting with the board of of directors or whatever, and the citizen review board, and kind of go through that whole process before obviously the fire training camp starts. So we'll like I said, I'm just getting my body ready. I know it's not going to be an easy task, but I love the challenge, so I'm ready for it.
Well, good for you.
You mentioned Dayton Flyers being your alma mater, and man, it's hard to hear that name without thinking of Indiana's current coach. And we talked a little off the air, and you were talking about how they were so sad when he was leaving Dayton, and I'm sure that every Indiana fan would gladly ship him back in a box to Dayton. But yeah, it has not gone well for Archie Miller in Bloomington. As a matter of fact, it has gone as badly as it could possibly go, I think.
Yeah, it was so weird when that happened because the Dayton Flyers and the Indiana Hoosiers, those are my two favorite teams. Dayton, obviously, because they're my alma mater, and Indiana, because that's my mom's alma mater. So I grew up on Bob Knight and the Hoosiers, and that was my team until I enrolled at Dayton in 2000. But I still root for the Hoosiers. So it was so weird that, I was devastated to see Archie leave because he had brought Dayton to a level that they had not been in generations. But if he was going to go anywhere, I was glad to see him go to Indiana. Because I thought that he was going to hit the ground running and really have some success there. To this point, he has not had that level of success that we hope for or expect. We'll see when he's able to turn that around.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know if that's going to happen, getting it turned around, because it just going in a downward motion. But we'll see about that. What else is going on next? Is there any other talk of using the Elam ending somewhere?
So, one really exciting development last year in 2020 was that the Elam ending was implemented in a FIBA league for the first time. So this is the Canadian Elite Basketball League, a professional league, high-level basketball, and they were very happy with it. They had a shortened season, but I expect that they'll continue to use it going forward. If you have that foot in FIBA, this opens up opportunities for so many nations and leagues to implement it going forward. So I think it's going to continue to grow on the international scene too.
How can you are you able to benefit from it in any way? How do you get to benefit from it? I mean, it's like you're the guy, but everybody else is getting to use it, but you're just sitting back here.
Yeah. So as far as like a direct return on it, that's it's not quite as easy of a direct return. And I knew that was always a possibility, but I knew that somehow, some way, if I kept pursuing the idea and it really caught on, that it would be worth it through some sort of indirect opportunity. So who knows what that might be, being linked to this concept where, whether it's someone in the business world, the sports world, the education world thinks, hey, this Elam guy's got some really good ideas. Let's bring him in as a consultant, or, any sort of, public speaking opportunities or things like that, and just different opportunities. You just never know what's going to happen. And so again, like I said, I've been patient with this the whole time, and just keep believing that, trying to move this forward somehow, some way, and that's how I am now. Okay, now the idea is moving forward, and just be patient and positive about what that might mean for me ultimately.
Absolutely, I hope so, man. Well, we look forward to talking to you more and seeing how things continue to progress along the way. Good luck on this weekend, and we'll see what things are you watching the tournaments all weekend, I assume?
Yeah, I'll try. I'll catch as much as I can. I mean, it's like basketball overload this weekend. It's great. I love it.
It is that time. Nick Elam, I can't thank you enough, brother.
Thanks. Talk to you guys soon.
You bet. Nick Elam joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. So yeah, Verdell, that'd be cool. You imagine playing in a game with the Elam ending. You're familiar with how it set up. They set the point. It's kind of cool to watch that.
It is
because it's different.
It does. It gives whoever's behind a chance to still win. Sometimes you waste 3 to 4 minutes of basketball just from fouls and holding the ball and stuff like that. But with the Elam ending, it kind of gives you that other team an opportunity to come back and win. I think even watching Mo Creek last year when he was in the TBT, I think that the Elam ending worked out great for them. You know what I mean? So I love it personally. I'm not sure how it's going to take with like the NBA. But I think that, for the semi-pro teams and even some overseas leagues, I think that'd be huge. I think it'd be a great way to end the game. Like I said, it gives the losing team an opportunity to claw their way back and still win. Yeah,
if he better copyright that phrase, Elam ending.
Yeah, he should.
Yeah, that's what I'm
use it. Get a check.
That's right. Hey, we'll in the next segment, we'll get to comments because there's tons of them, but of course we know what they all pertain to. But we'll get to that and whatever else you want to talk about. Anything else Verdell wants to talk about? What do you have going on, Verdell?
Man, actually, we have our tryouts on Sunday for my youth program. So we have our youth.
Mr. Do Everything.
Yeah, we have our first tryout this weekend. And then we're we're looking to have our first tournament actually next week over in Indy. So just getting the stuff ready for that, getting donations and getting everything set up, and just getting ready for the spring and summer.
Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Hey, we all want more. No.
Oh, man. I'm never looking forward to a show being over, but I am today. It's just been a long week. Driving back from Indianapolis last night.
Oh, yeah, long day.
Miserable. Knowing that
I hear you, man.
I
hear you.
It's like
it's frustrating.
But football. There's football at least.
It keeps the hope alive.
Man,
you know what? I've been
be
seeing.
fun.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I've been seeing people talk about even bringing AJ on as an assistant, Guyton.
I've seen that. I mean,
he has coaching experience. He's been around. He was coaching the G League and stuff like that. You got to bring something on the staff that's gonna bring excitement. You know what I mean? I think bringing Kenya brought some excitement, but you got to bring another piece that's going to be like, okay, this feels a little bit like Indiana now.
I agree. But the only thing I hate about that is the head coach should not have to do that.
Yeah.
The head coach should be the guy. If the head coach has to bring in people for offense and bring in people for defense then what the hell is your job? Because he's not recruiting. What is he doing? He's not accomplishing a thing.
Why are you getting those millions? Like you said,
that is the worst
public person in the state of Indiana. I mean,
he's not the highest. He's behind Tom Allen.
Oh, he's fine. Yeah, he's number 2 now.
and they're behind Jeff Brom.
Oh, okay.
But he's in front of Matt Painter.
Mm.
Hey, did you find the puppy yet? That's a good question.
We did actually.
I have to ask you that on the air. Hold on, save that.
We're not getting a black lab though. We found actually a lady out of Crawfordsville who breeds Rottweilers. So we're getting a baby Rottweiler.
Damn. They'll go for the security patrol.
When I'm gone for that 24 hours, I need the house and the wife and family protected.
Man, my man taking care of business.
A black lab might not do the job.
Yeah, he lay down. Say, hey, what's up?
No, don't do none of that.
Yeah, Rottweiler sends a different message.
For sure.
World-class golfing and a premier resort experience that is waiting for you on your next visit to French Lick West Bay.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Sounds like when doves cry.
Welcome back in the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Friday. I hope everybody's ready to have a fun weekend. I know I am. I'm tired, but there's a lot of basketball to watch. And I'm looking forward to that, watching some good basketball. A question on the comments, I don't want to forget, though. Did Verdell find a puppy yet?
I did find a puppy. It's not the black lab we originally were looking for. We actually found a breeder out of Crawfordsville, Indiana, who breeds Rottweiler puppies. And so we're going to get a little female Rottweiler puppy. She's due in, I think, April 15th, so we'll probably get her home around June. And we can call her Lady. That's going to be her name, Lady. So, we did our research, and it was always between a black lab and a Rottweiler. But with me being a firefighter and being gone for 24 hours straight, I wanted to have something that's going to be able to keep home and the wife and the family protected. And the black lab might not do the job with that. So we decided, we talked about it, prayed about it, and decided to go a different route. So we did find a puppy. I'll make sure that once we get it, we'll bring it on the show and show everybody. But I appreciate everyone who shared share the different breeders and shout out the different places to go. So thank you.
Yeah, man, it was cool. It's nothing. It's like having a baby. Especially when you're going through that process and actually waiting for the dog to have the baby. That's funny.
Yeah. They sent us pictures. Sent us pictures on Monday. The mom went and had, got her test and all that stuff done to see how many puppies they had. So we're set to go, man. I'm excited.
Awesome. Jennifer was fired up. She's all over it earlier on. She said Miller's message on the direction of the program that at the end of the day will be fine. Not sure what world he's living in, but nothing fine about the problem. That's right. Let's see. She also said he mentioned 3 times about the team being fatigued. And someone else mentioned fatigue, but yet 2 freshmen don't see the floor. In the last game of the season on top of that, which I know it was a game that was in the balance, but they weren't getting what they needed. And those guys, Christian Lander was, I think too much was asked of him this year. He should not have been expected to play the minutes that he did. Those 2 empty scholarships, number 1, that should have been helpful with that. And number 2, you've got veteran guards on this team that should have played better. Rob Finnessy should have played better. Al Durham should have been more consistent. Armand got hurt, so that hurt them there. But
Sure.
other than that, it just didn't seem to get developed. And Anthony Leal, man, that is a guy that I think that they should have really, really, really worked to develop him, because he would have been invaluable this season. He's one of, if not the only shooter on the team, I guess.
Absolutely. I think, him and Lander, it's still even Christian. If you're going to forego your senior year to play, that means that you're expecting to come in and get minutes. You're not going to bypass your senior year just to come and sit the bench. Like I said before, even when Alec was on the show earlier, I wish Christian had got more playing time earlier in the year, and I think you'd have saw him a lot more developed later. When you're playing against some of those mid-major teams and lower teams, that's an opportunity for them to get kind of those reps in. I think that ultimately hurt him a little bit. So, we'll see what happens next year, though.
Yeah. James says, hopefully the university won't fire Coach Miller unless they have the coach to replace him that everybody wants. If that's Brad Stevens or Scott Drew is the person, make them tell you no. Yes. I'm not talking about the names, but that's exactly. I've said that over and over. You have to have the guy before you can do anything. You have to know you have the guy before you can make a move. And if you haven't noticed, if the guy's not coaching right now, he's probably not the guy. The NCAA tournament or all the tournaments are going on. You can't talk to people right now. So that's another issue. I don't think it happens this year. I really don't. Unfortunately, I think they're just in a bad position unless everybody that's complaining now. Are you going to also send a check with that complaint? Because
$1,000 check, and then we'll make a decision, man. If everyone who complains on Twitter sends a $1K check, then that move can be made. Because it's like you said, why give up $10 million just to find someone that we might be okay with?
Because that's the thing. You've got to have that guy. You can't. And I said this the other day, talked about the staff. Normally, there's an assistant that you would be confident with, like being an interim. That's not the case. Could you go out and do that? That would be unusual, but I don't know. It's a weird deal. But yeah, unfortunately, I actually think that he will survive this year because I keep getting told it's not about the money, but it is about the money. There's so much of money. It's not just the money to Archie. That gets spread out. That does not paid at once. It gets offset by any future jobs he would get. You got another coach you have to get. Exactly. And if the coach is good, he's probably under a buyout as well. So now you got to pay that buyout, and you got to pay a salary for him that's going to be $25 to $30 million contract. This is a large amount of numbers we're talking about in a COVID era at the moment. So it's a lot of different things that go into this.
There's a lot of things that play, unfortunately.
But at the end of the day, it sucks. It just sucks because that's. But
hey, if Coach, if Brad Stevens or someone like that wants to come, and they got the money too now, they can go ahead and contribute.
If it is someone like that, Brad Stevens, you do make him tell you no. You find the money. If Brad Stevens was available, truly available, and they would find the money. If they didn't, it would be a travesty. I'm thoroughly convinced. If that was a reality, it would happen. If it doesn't happen, it's because it's not a reality. And I don't think it's a reality right now. There's some discord in Boston, but they're not just going to dump him, man. I don't think.
I agree. I don't think so either.
And then who's available now? The only name that I have heard that's even a possibility for a now would be a Scott Drew. And there's a lot of things to look into that financially, the numbers and all that stuff. But again, it comes back to writing Archie a check. But as I've said, that could be mitigated. But it is what it is. I mean, they're in a bad situation, and they're in a bad situation because of the horrible contract that Fred Glass wrote, for one. So he's sure escaping a lot here because he's got a lot of responsibility on this. But you heard Nick. The Dayton fans, they were enamored with Archie, but that's. When you don't have much, it doesn't take much to excite you.
Sure.
When you're not accustomed to winning, it doesn't take much. So they had a little taste of it, and they thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. But their recruiting went up as soon as he left. Obi Toppin was not an Archie Miller recruit. Their team got better as soon as he left. He went to an Elite Eight, but I think that was a 1 second. He got a one win. I think it was over Ohio State that kind of propelled that. If that doesn't happen, he's not here right now. There's no doubt about that. But I could talk about that all day long, and it just goes on and on and on. Here's a strange. I'm gonna put this up because it's just strange as hell. Tim asks, "Have I ever found any marshmallows on the golf course?" I have no is the answer, and I don't know why I ever would. But he also asked who gets fired first, Miller or Cal. Kentucky will never fire John Calipari. They will allow him to leave whenever he wants to leave. You can be certain of that.
For sure.
That's how that will go down. He will make his decision. They may suggest it to him. But man, he's been there 11 years now, however long.
Yeah.
He don't care. He doesn't care. He don't care what those fans think.
No, he's past that point for sure.
I'm trying to find a comment that's not about Archie, but it's almost impossible. I like seeing new names though. Sid, recruiting. This team cannot survive the players we have. Archie is not the answer, but will kids want to come with that's a question that we're going to see. They're going to have to hit the transfer market, Verdell. I mean, I really believe that. I mean, you've already got the 2 open scholarships that you didn't fill last year. There's going to be, I think there's going to be departures. As sadly as it is, I don't see any way that Trace Jackson Davis is coming back to Indiana, period. He may not go pro. I don't see him coming back to Indiana. Why in the hell would he come back? If he's going to come back to play college, he's going to want a shot at playing in the NCAA tournament. And he knows that is not going to happen under Archie Miller. He has to know that. His stepdad has to know that. His dad has to know that. He has to be told that. I mean, so I would be shocked beyond belief if Trace Jackson Davis was
I saw a comment, him saying, people are asking what he's going to do. And he is, he's like, I just need 2 weeks just to really, decompress. Like I said before, man, you could really see the burden on him because while I do believe that he is playing for Indiana Hoosiers and his team, he's also playing for his future. And, if the team isn't winning and they're not succeeding the way he needs them to, then that hurts his future. That hurts, his stock status. That hurts a lot of different things. So, I hope that, he finds the answers he's looking for over these next 2 weeks. And, it's a big boy decision he has to make. And I hope the best for him. But, whatever decision he makes, I hope that he understands that, that Hoosier fans support him no matter what, but we understand the situation he's in.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier. Leo, Lander, Geronimo, they all needed more minutes this year. We talked about that during the season. Lander and Leo and Lander didn't either played last night, did they?
I don't remember seeing them play. This was in the first half.
Yeah.
Early.
So,
to me, Geronimo is someone that could have helped this year, especially down low. When you only have two big men, I thought, he's still got some rawness to him, but he does good things. He battles down there, he fights, and when he finishes at the rim, he finishes, and that's something that I thought could have definitely helped us this year.
And then there was another comment last night on the postgame show. Yeah, we had Colin Hartman come on, and he was talking with Todd, and they were talking about the shooting. And Todd has just been on all year long. It's like you can see that he said, "I can see as a shooter." He says, "I can see some slight mechanical flaws that just need to be fixed, but nobody is fixing them, and yet they're going out and continuing to practice with the flaws." And Colin and Todd talked about how that's actually making it harder to fix, and it's just not making it any better at all.
Yeah, development. Go back to development. How are you getting better? That's one thing I will say about Coach Crean and his staff, man. That Coach Benny Seltzer, Coach Tim Buckley, those guys will get with us after practices and help us become better, shooters, or work on our ball handling, or put us through drills. That's what I'm not at practices, so I don't know what's going on, but that's what my question is. What is happening outside of the games? Are guys getting extra reps in? What are the individual workouts looking like? How are these guys getting better?
Absolutely. Man, we went long, which is great. But had lots of stuff to talk about. Yeah, I wonder if there is, because if there is this court in Boston, if Brad Stevens would come back to college, maybe eventually we'll see, but who knows? Not sure that day is today, but Verdell, what you got coming up, man? What you doing this weekend?
Man, this weekend, like I said, I got on Sunday, we're having our tryouts for my youth programs, basketball teams. We're looking to go ahead and get the spring and summer started, AAU season started. Still not sure quite how much, how it's going to look. A lot of our fundraisers and stuff that we did, here locally, we just can't do because we can't get the spaces or can't go out and do certain things. So, but we are going to move forward, man. And so, get these guys ready. Last summer and spring, it hurt a lot of kids not having outlets. So we want to do everything we can this year to make sure that outlet is given.
Yeah, I can't thank everybody enough, especially Verdell, as always, of course, Alec Lasley and Nick Elam. Another great fun Friday, just hanging out with you guys, just having fun. So looking forward to doing this again on Monday. You guys come back. We'll be here then, as always. Go out and have yourselves a great weekend. Don't forget to wear your masks. Do something nice for somebody. And until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.